my channel and welcome to today's video. Hope you are having an amazing day. Today we are back with another palette breakdown video as promised. I have a few new palettes which I showed you in my last video and I am going to share my thoughts on all of these palettes. Today's beautiful palette is the new Natasha Denona Dream palette. And it is such a gorgeous palette, and if you know my channel, if you know my liking in eyeshadow colors, you probably already guessed when this palette launched that I will be getting it for sure. It's such a versatile palette, so I had to get it. So today I'm going to share my thoughts on this palette. I'll show you a couple of looks which I have done. I'll show you the lighter shades, deeper shades. Basically we are just going to break down the palette and understand how to use that palette efficiently. Okay, so without much further ado, let's quickly get started with today's video. It is so exciting to finally have this palette in my hand. When I first saw this on the Trendmood's website or Trendmood's Instagram page, I was like, oh my god, this looks like my dream palette and I have to have it. Very honestly, it's not one of the most unique palettes, as you may have colors like that already in your collection, but the fact that it has all been put together in one palette, the color story is just so beautiful. I had to get it. Enough talking, let me just show you how the packaging and everything looks like. So this is how the palette looks like. It's a standard, I think, acrylic plastic kind of packaging. It's pretty nice, quite luxe as the standard Natasha Denona smaller palettes. So this is how the artwork is on top with a splash of color, splash of black paint. So this is how the palette looks like, and look at the color story. It's just so beautiful. It's like a perfect all-in-one palette. If you just want to have one palette in your life, probably this is it. It's just so gorgeous and I had to buy it. I know I may have all of these colors already in my collection, but all of them put together, it just looks so nice, and Natasha Denona formula is so good. So I really wanted to have it. I have been regretting not getting the Biba palette for so long. I love the Natasha Denona Biba palette and it just looks so nice, cool toned, everyday friendly palette. I don't have it and I didn't want to have another palette where I would just keep regretting of not having it. So that's why I just thought, okay, let's just go ahead and buy it. So this is how the palette looks like. There are 15 shades. I'll give you close-ups here, of course. There are 15 shades of different textures. There are 8 matte shades in the palette. Out of the 8 matte shades, there are 2 mattes which are the creamy mattes. So these 2 are the creamy mattes, these 2 berry and purple tones, and the rest of the 6 are your normal, very nice mattes, powder matte shades. And then the rest of the shades are all metallic, shimmer finish, different textures. There is one interesting multi-chromatic, duochromatic shade as well. What is this? Is it a multi-chrome or a duochrome? Looks like a duochrome, I think. Yeah, it looks like a duochrome, like a green purple duochrome. Very popular. It used to be a very sought after shade I think couple of years back, but now I think there are a lot of brands which have done this shade. It looks really nice on the eyes, so definitely this is a very big plus point in the palette. So those are the shades in the palette. I got this palette from BeautyLish because I don't know, somehow Natasha Denona launches first over there and I really wanted to have it as soon as I could. And by first I mean where there is international shipping available. So I ordered from BeautyLish. So I think without we move on further with my thoughts on this palette, let's quickly see the swatches. Here is the close-up of the palette one more time. Let's go with the swatches row by row. The first shade in the first row, Blackest Black, which is truly one of the most blackest blacks I have seen. It's super pigmented and it's very easy to work with. Then we have Aspiration, which is a dark brown matte. Then we have the shade Serenity, which is a taupey grey shade. Then we have Carpe Diem, which is a matte peachy brown. Then we have Babies, which is also like a movie champagne pink kind of a color. Next, let's move on to the second row. We have the first creamy matte in the palette. It's called Instinct, which is a very rich plum berry kind of color. Then we have the shade Thrill, which is a sparkly, shimmery, pinky champagne, which has a slight bit of a duochrome shift, and it has a lot of sparkles in it as well. Then we have a matte shade Unity, which is a little bit more lighter peachy brown. Then we have Risk, which is an intensely deep, rich, metallic burgundy brownish sort of a color. Next we have Invention, which is a sparkly with a lot of fine glitters, peachy, orangey gold kind of a color. Then we have Vision, which is a multichrome, duochrome, mostly like a multichrome with some sparkles in it, and it has a purple, green, pink shift. So here we have moved to the third row, of course. Second shade in the third row is Edgy, which is a deep eggplant matte shade, which is a creamy matte texture. Next we have Spontaneous, which is a metallic, super intense metallic, which has a beige champagne tone. Then we have Nurture, which is a cool toned greyish brown. Then we have the shade Familia, which is a more mid-tone leaning towards warm brown. So those were the swatches of this beautiful, versatile dream palette from Natasha Denona. Earlier I was saying that I regret not getting the Biba palette. Not the Biba palette, the Glam palette, the cool tone neutral palette. I regret not getting that one still. Before we go into the tone breakdown, let me quickly share my thoughts on all the shades very quickly. So as I already told you, there are 8 matte shades in the palette. There are 2 creamy mattes, this one and this one. So these 2 creamy mattes are berry and purple toned, very nice creamy mattes. I really enjoy the Natasha Denona creamy matte texture. They are very easy to blend. They set on the eyes very nicely, and they act as a very nice base for other shadows as well. I have these kind of textures in other palettes too, and I really like them. Only palette where it didn't work out was the Cranberry palette, where one of the cream matte, which was very similar to this color, it was not good. But all the other palettes, they have been good. So I'm glad there is another cream matte like that now in my collection. All the other matte shades, they are like different ranges of brownish tones. So all are great, no major complaints. And to be very honest, I actually like the Natasha Denona mattes more than Pat McGrath mattes. I feel like these just blend so nicely. They give that nice, easy, blended look very effortlessly. That's what I feel about the mattes, and these mattes are no less. And the fallout in Natasha Denona mattes are also quite less as compared to Pat McGrath. So definitely love the mattes. So for the shimmers, there are different textures. So let's start off, I think from the first row there is this shimmer or metallic shade, which is one of my favorite. This is that taupey, like a taupey grey color. This is their similar shade in the Glam palette as well. In fact, the Glam palette has a lot of range of this kind of colors. That's why I really like the Glam palette. Probably I'll get it someday. And it's always there in my mind. So at least one such shade is this here in this palette. It's a metallic shade. It's very beautiful. The second look where which I'm going to show you today, there I have used this shade. Then we have Babies, which is a sparkling shade. This is quite nice. It has that pink champagne tone, like a shifty tone. It's not exactly like a true multichrome or a true duochrome, but it's very pretty. It's very pretty on the eyes. Then we have Thrill, which is also very similar to this one. Both of these have similar kind of texture. This one is more like gold pink, more intense gold pink. This one is more like a muted mauvey pink with a little bit of a champagne tone. Then we have this one. This is another sparkly one. This I have on my eyes today. This is actually quite sparkly. This has that orangey yellow, very sparkly, lot of glitters in it. This is the only shade I would say it's a little problematic somewhat of this palette. All the other shades are superb. Only this one is a little bit more sparkly, more flaky. So blending out this one is a little bit of a work. Same as the Pat McGrath review. There was that one sparkly shade which was very hard to blend. Same with this one too. Today also I did a few minutes to just make it nice and smooth. And then we have a very smooth metallic. It's like a true metallic, very intense foil, smooth metallic. It's like a champagne shade. It's a very smooth champagne color. You can top it up on any of these two matte shades or just apply in the inner portion of the lid. I personally don't really use these kind of shades a ton. So for me, this is not the most exciting shade in the palette, but it's there. For me, the most exciting shade in this palette is this one, and of course, this multi-chrome duochrome thing. So you can see in the mirror here, I don't know if you can tell, this one looks purple to you now, and in the mirror you can see it's green. I hope now it's a little bit more clear. So if you have been wanting this kind of a color, this kind of a shift, it is there in this palette which has a green, purpley, pink shift. This one is similar shade is there in the Pat McGrath, that's Rose 2 palette as well, which I have. I think both the shades may be a little bit similar. Let me quickly check. I'll show you right now. Okay, I'm back. So I have this Divine Rose 2 palette and I have this shade right here, which is, I forgot the name of this one. Anyways, you know, I think this color right here, which also is very similar. Let me swatch both of them. So that is the Pat McGrath one. Okay. In the camera, I don't know if you will be able to tell much. So let me analyze and I will let you know if both are the same. Oh my god, they are. Yes. They are pretty similar, guys. Yes. So if you have been wanting the Divine Rose 2 for that particular shade, because this kind of shade, right, it looks so amazing on the eyes. You can just put one layer of this one on the eyes and you're good to go. You don't even need transition shades, you don't even need deepening shades. This looks amazing on the eyes. I really like wearing this one, and these two are kind of the same shade. There is just a difference in the shift. In the Pat McGrath one, you can see a little bit more purple when you look at it, and the shift is green. And in the Natasha Denona one, the base shade or the shade which you look at it first is a little bit lighter. That's all. That's the only difference. They will look very similar on the eyes. Yay, I'm so happy. Okay, so that was the comparison of this beautiful duochrome. I will highly recommend these kind of duochrome shades. If you want to get singles also, these kind of duochrome shades look really nice on the eyes. Now let's do a palette breakdown in terms of its tone. I do this so that you get a better idea of the shades in the palette, the tones in the palette, how you're going to use this palette to get a better picture of it. So let's start off with the lightest shade in the palette. So the lightest shade is this one, which is the shade Unity, which is not a cream, not a white. So for light skin tone people, there are not too many light shades in the palette. So yeah, this palette is a little bit more towards the medium tone. It starts off medium tone and then goes a little bit deeper. So if you're light skin tone, there are not too many like light transition shades and light lid shades. So that's something to keep in mind. So I would say these are there's one more actually, these two, you can say both of these are kind of similar. These two are the lightest shades in the palette. And deepest shade of course is that beautiful blackest black. It is such a good black. It's super creamy and it's actually a powder black, I think, because sometimes I'm also confused whether it's the powder black or not, but it is a powder black because it is super creamy. And if you want to apply this as a liner using a liner brush, it applies so beautifully, so smooth. You don't have to dip your brush too many times in here. In one dip you can get a pretty decent stroke of eyeline, and it is really very easy to blend as well. So I love this black here, which is the deepest shade in the palette. There's of course a very nice deep plummy brown too, like a dark brown, and this shade is also pretty deep, but yeah, these two are not as deep as the black. Now let's look at the crease colors in this palette. I am very happy to let you guys know that there are about 3 crease colors, or 4 also even. For my kind of skin tone, 1, 2, 3. These 3 can be used very easily as crease colors. They are not too deep. or too light. They are perfect for my kind of skin tone, so they show up really well as well. And there are like nice different tones of mattes. They blend very nicely. There's a brown, there's a peachy brown, there's a rosy brown. So these three are very nice crease colors, and you have kind of like a slightly deeper crease color in this one too. This is a brown, so this one also I think can pass off as a crease color, especially if you're close to my skin tone, a little bit deeper, then you can definitely use this as a crease color too. Lid colors. Okay, lid colors, as I always say, you have 15 lid colors right here. So many lid colors. Usually I also use this creamy matte shades as my lid color. So in Natasha Denona palettes, not only the metallic shades, I also use these as my matte shades. So there are how many lid colors? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 lid colors in this palette. Different textures, different formulations, different tones of colors. So you have a variety of 9 shades which you can apply on the lid. For the creamy matte shades, I can say that you can apply them as a lid color and top them up with any of the metallic shades or this duochromatic shade and try out. This shade Risk, which is more like a satiny shade. It is not too metallic or not too shiny. It doesn't have any sparkles. So this is also a really nice lid color if you just want a simple plain wash of color and just you blend out the edges. It looks really nice. Then you have a couple of sparkly shades. Not a couple actually, there are about 3 or 4 sparkly shades. And then you have this duochrome, which is just a lid color by itself. So definitely a lot of colors to play with in this palette. Okay, and lastly, I think I want to touch base upon the deepening colors. So there definitely we have the black and the brown. What else do you need? If you want to deepen your eye look, just use these 2 shades. You can also use this one, Edgy, which is also pretty deep color. This one I would say is also a pretty nice deepening up shade, but it's not that intense. I feel like Edgy is a little bit more intense. It packs up the color more nicely. So I would say there are 3 deepening colors, and yes, I can use this creamy matte shades in the outer V as well to deepen up the look. Like today I have used one of these shades to deepen up my eye look. Both can be used actually to deepen up the eye look depending on the tone which you're going for. Today I think I have used this one to deepen up. So I think yeah, you can use 1, 2, 3, 4. I think all the 4. If you're close to my skin tone and lighter, you can use these 4 shades to deepen up your eye look. So you get a great variety of colors in the palette. That number of looks, usually I mention the palette, how many looks do I foresee. There are 9 metallic shades, there are 2 creamy matte shades. So the possibilities are endless. I feel you can easily get probably like, and if you consider the matte shades also, just the matte looks, because there are 6 matte shades of different tones, just the matte looks, I would say probably 15, 16. This can give you a lot of looks. It has 15 shades, of course, a lot of versatile tones. Let's talk about this look first, which I have done today. So I have used this shade Risk, which is like a satiny shade. This I have applied all over my lid, and on that I have topped it up with the shade Invention, which is that bronzy, coppery kind of a color. It's not bronzy, it's a coppery reddish color. And this one I have applied with a little bit of that Pat McGrath glue stick, and then I have got a more smoother finish. I have topped it up on the shade Risk, and then I have used this one, Instinct, in my outer V. So that's the deep plummy berry kind of shade which you see. So those are the 3 main shadows in the look. Today I have used a little bit of black and brown as well in the liner and everything. So yeah, that's the first look. And for the second look, I have actually used the shade Edgy. So I applied Edgy all over my eyelid, and then I topped it up with Serenity. It looks so beautiful. This plum or the eggplant color and the taupey shade looked so beautiful together. And then I topped it up with Thrill, I think little bit for that extra glimmer. And then I have used the brown, the black for transition. I have used this one, the Amelia. The blend of this look was so beautiful, and it was very subtle. It looks like pretty intense, but actually it looked very subtle in daylight. So I love the second look which I have done as well. I will definitely do more looks with this palette. If you want to see dedicated tutorials with this palette, then do let me know. I will do it on YouTube. Otherwise, on YouTube you will see me wearing this palette. You can see the different color combinations I'm wearing. I may do like small shorts or reels on my Instagram where I'll show you different color combinations. But if you want to see dedicated tutorial, then do let me know with this palette. So yeah, I really like this palette. I am having so much fun with this. I feel like I will be neglecting all my other palettes because there is just so much to do with this one palette only. So yeah, I'm very happy I got it. I will highly recommend it. If you are someone who doesn't have any Natasha Denona palette, you want to try out something, then you can definitely go for this one. This is a versatile palette. I also have the retro palette right here, and I thought that the retro palette was the one palette from Natasha Denona which is just going to be my dream palette. So this was my earlier dream palette, and this is my new dream palette. Both are so nice. I love both the palettes actually. So these are the two palettes. If you want to see a comparison of these two palettes, then do let me know. Actually, I haven't compared myself also that much. Yeah, both are not the same. They are quite different. This has both cool tone and little bit warmth as well. These are some warm tones. This is more cooler. This is more cooler, more berry pinky tone, more mauvey toned. Yeah, both are kind of different, but yes, if you want to see a detailed comparison on this palette, then do let me know. But for now, I think these two are my favorite Natasha Denona palettes now, currently. Okay, so yeah, I'm really happy with the dream palette, and I hope this video was helpful and you got to know how I will be using the colors. You got some idea. If you are watching me for the first time, I really hope you'll consider subscribing, and if you like this video, please do give this video a thumbs up. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you again really soon in my next video. Bye.